As we wrap up 2019, a number of government agencies are giving accounts of what they've done in 2019 with a bit of outlook into the new year. So on Wednesday, the Federal Consumer Protection and Competition and Consumer Protection Agency, FCCPC, told the media what is done so far in terms of complaints from consumers in the ongoing year, from banking to telecoms to general consumer goods and telecoms and whatever. So this is what Babatunde Rukera says about what this agency achieved so far in 2019. And this year was when the agency's powers and duties and functions were expanded beyond consumer protection to include what you call competition. What is it going to do with the securities market as well as the SEC? Let's take a listen to the Director General, Rukera.
This year that's ending, I think is the biggest year in the life of this organization yet. First, on the 30th of January, we succeeded in what the country had tried to do for about 18 years, passing the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act. For the first time, we now have a framework to address anti-competitive behavior, which is a problem for both consumers and other businesses. And people have asked me, what does this come to? I say, this is the most important piece of legislation to promote fairness for small businesses to be able to enter into the same market where the big businesses operate. You know that there are people who are not interested. There are people who want to make their own soup. They don't want to sell like Cousins Imperial Leather. They are not interested. They don't want to be that big. But if Cousins or whoever makes Cousins Imperial Leather has already gone somewhere to make sure that they cannot even get raw material, then you know that that's an unfair. You know, some people want to sell their own small soft drink. They don't want to compare with the one in Oregon or the one in Agidingbi. But if those ones are said to everybody who distributes soft drinks, that if you take this other person's drink, we will withdraw our business from you. You know that that's a barrier. So the small guy suffers. And that's what this law is about. And so it's a big deal that we now have it. It will take a while for our culture to understand it. But as the institution settles down and does some real tough, big cases, people will shape up. People will shape up. It's natural. On a daily basis, we're doing a lot more enforcement. Companies now respect the organization more, and so they're coming. And so even when you're not seeing things in the news, a lot of things are happening. I've spoken about our advisories and the updates that we provide. And the new areas, one big new area we got into this year is we entered into a very ambitious plan with the Road Safety Commission on how to address road transportation, especially interstate. And a number of things there: driver monitoring, driver reporting, fleet management, fleet renewal, redundancy and recovery plans when a vehicle breaks down halfway through, possible insurance for the trip so that when things happen to people, and as we go into the coming year, we'll begin to address that. Another big thing that happened this year is that last year, which I'm sure was reported last year, was we interdicted people who were selling inappropriate products in Europe. We're selling rice that's dangerous. And for over a year, we were fighting to deal with the issue. So this year, we succeeded in getting them into court. Very powerful people who used all the powers, including the powers of the state, to resist getting into court. But we've arraigned them. They're standing in the dock, and the trial has started. I personally go there. I've been to you thrice this year for court. We've opened our case. We've started taking evidence. And God helping us, the judiciary staying with us, we will prosecute this case to the end. What that does is that, again, Consequence is the greatest modifier of human behavior. When people know that there's a consequence management system, when people know that there's a consequence for their conduct, you'll behave differently. So if you say to someone who steals, we will take the money you steal from you, it's still worth the risk. Isn't it worth the risk? The most I can lose is the money I stole. I'll still be where I was before I stole. If they don't even know how much I stole, I keep some. If I steal and they don't catch me, I keep all. But if you will lose what you had before you stole and end up in jail for stealing, you're likely to think through your behavior a little more. And that's one of the important things that we're trying to pursue now. That's why I'm taking the business. That's why I took DSTV to court. That's why I am prosecuting these cases myself. Just by me going to court and people who were former big men, who have their own police orderlies, standing in the dock, that has sent a message to many others that I don't want this kind of thing to happen to me. Just that alone. And so that's where we are. That's what we're doing. That's why our partnership with you is so important. And that's why we need you more than we've needed you before. You know that the people we fight against, they have more resource than us. They would use you to come against us. You have to be the ones who stand in the gap and say, nah. One of the most important things that happened this year was the passage of the law and the confusion the passage of that law could have created. For the business reporters here, you would know. Securities and Exchange Commission does mergers and acquisition, and there's a pipeline of transactions going on daily. And that was taken away and put in a new law. We had to think creatively in collaboration with the Securities and Exchange Commission to figure out a way for transactions to continue to go, for confidence in our economy not to be jeopardized. And so we came up with a joint desk between Securities and Exchange Commission and the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. And even internationally, foreigners, they say that that is a gold standard, that you've shown an example of how things can work. I would hope that that's the kind of thing we can take and say, look, we don't have, a lot of our history is gone because of some of what you're not doing. So why won't someone say, let's look at what worked here and see. Itself is a treatise and a model. And we can use it to start holding all the regulators and government accountable, that, including us, that this is how things can work when you guys do it right and do it together. Let's keep referring to it. Let's analyze it. Let's slice it multidimensional and say, look, all those things improve systems. And you have not just the opportunity, but the responsibility to do that. A few other things, but I think I've covered most of what are important to me, except that I'd like to talk about the electricity industry. Seems like a runaway train. We're resolving complaints every single day. Electricity, telecommunications, banking, stamp duty, bank charges, ATM fees. We're resolving complaints every single day. But resolving individual complaints is certainly inadequate to fix this problem. There must be industry-wide regulatory intervention. And so, you're the ones who can force the marriages between regulators that will make those things work well. I don't know if you get the point I'm making. You can force those marriages. Say, look, we're looking at your own mandate, it has this. We're looking at your own mandate, it has this. Get together, guys, and 30 days from now, we'll still come and see if you have gotten together or not. Create. Today, just put it there. In the period where FCCPC and CBN have not gotten together, guess how many people have lost their money to bank charges today? And from the first day we started this thing, we've created a clock. Day 5, day 6, day 7, 30 days, still waiting. These guys, and so when they come with this their show, and they say, we're waiting for DG to come, you say, on that day, first, answer some questions before he comes. This clock, what have you people done about it? Hold us accountable. Put us under pressure for the benefit of the nation.